Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you do have a community, and you are not alone. And to that end, I have an incredible guest that I am so excited to introduce you to, that I had on the screen for a split second there, but I had to welcome to live TV, everybody, right? It's what button do I push next, you know? So Petra Brunnbauer is my guest today, and she's in France, and I don't remember what city she's in, but we'll talk about that. She is living in France, which I'm so excited about because I love France so much, and it's going to be fun. Knowing that she is sitting there in France and we're sitting here in the United States, it's going to that to me already is fun. So she actually had me on her show as well, and so we're going to talk about that, the Jōrni Wellbeing. The Jōrni Wellbeing Platform is actually what we're gonna is how she's doing all this, and it's just incredible, the technology and the capabilities we have right now. Right, we're sitting here going to be talking cross-continentally, so I'm very excited about that. And we're going to be talking about complex regional pain syndrome as well, which is something that Petra has lived with, and oh my gosh, she has some incredible techniques that I can't wait for you to hear. And honestly, we're gonna have a good conversation. This is gonna be great. So let's welcome Petra to the broadcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me on today. What an honor to be here. Yeah, cross-continentally. I love it.
I thought that was I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It's like evening where you are, and it's morning where I am. It's so fun. It's great, you know. The internet's a beautiful thing until it's not, right? As long as technology works, it's awesome. Yeah. Oh, so where? Just out of curiosity, where in France do you live? You said it was. Forgive me. Tell me again what the region that you live in.
Yeah, sure. So we live west of Paris in a department called Brittany, and it actually takes up the sort of top northern corner of France. Okay. And we live by the ocean. So if you go to Paris and you head west until you hit the Atlantic, that's basically where we live. It's in a town called Vannes. It's not too big, maybe 50,000 people. But we live out in the countryside, surrounded by fields and cows. So it's very peaceful here, and lots of history, of course, you know, standing stones, castles, castle ruins, a lot of that.
Oh man. Oh, see, now I just want to get on a plane and I just want to grab my passport, get on a plane and go there. That sounds, I've been to Paris. and I've been to surrounding areas very close to Paris, but I've never ventured outside of that area. And there's so much more to explore than the Eiffel Tower in France. And so that just makes me want to go even more.
You can definitely spend a lot of time here looking at things and history, lots of history. And in the down south too, or along the Loire, I think you have one of the most castle per square kilometers, most castles per square kilometers or something like that in the world along the Loire. So you can get your castle fix on.
Oh man, see, that's cool. I remember seeing a bunch of castles in England when we were there a long time ago, but I had no idea there were that many in France. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's another reason to go. There's another reason.
Can't wait to see you over here. We can
Let's do
a show like in the same place or something like that.
Oh man. I've had so many guests from so many different corners of the world, and I thought the same thing, like, why don't I come to you next time?
We can do a podcast here when you come here.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Well, and I've been on your show, which was amazing, by the way. Well done. You're doing awesome. You're doing a great job. You have a wonderful show. And so, for those that don't know, so tell everybody what your show is and kind of what it's about, and so that people can reach out to you and check it out too.
Yeah. So it was an honor to have you on my podcast, Jeff, and I think we had a really, really good time.
It was good.
We enjoyed ourselves. And my podcast is called the Jōrni Podcast, and it goes along. It's part of the Jōrni Wellbeing Platform. As you said, everything kind of ties into that. So we have the blog, the podcast, the courses, and of course the socials and everything. And the podcast ties in a little bit with your show too, in that we talk about mental well-being and holistic healing. So anything that I can find that helps people, basically, right? Or people talking about their stories with mental well-being, physical well-being, any challenges they've had, any conditions, illnesses, anything that they've worked with, and how they have either overcome it, managed it, or find ways to make it better. So it's all about healing.
I love that. That's so cool. Because I don't know about France, but in the United States, we are I don't even call it the health system. It's the sickness system. It's the I'm almost dead, and so I finally went to the hospital system.
Yeah.
And so when you get people talking about wellness and what that actually means, like, it's not just taking a pill or treating a symptom, right? It's a whole body type of thing. So I'm so excited that you are doing that, and that more people need to do that. In fact, I'm thinking about this. I'm going to write this down while I'm thinking about it. There's somebody I need to introduce you to, actually,
Amazing.
After we get done, because I don't know why it just popped into my head, but I gotta write this down before I forget. But there we go. Yeah. So, yep, we'll be making some connections after this show with some folks. They're as far as I remember, one of them's in the U.S. One of them, I think, is in Bucharest.
Oh wow!
I think last time I talked to him, so he was in Portugal for a while, and now he's Anyway, so I don't know if I can track him down. I'll introduce you to him too. So this is good. See, we're getting somewhere already. So we are talking about today, speaking of conditions that people have. We're going to be talking about, let me see if I get this right, CRPS, right? Complex Regional Pain Syndrome.
Exactly.
Right?
You got it.
Right on. So that is something that I am not super familiar with, and it honestly kind of feels like, it kind of sounds like, well, that could be anything,
It is kind of like that.
Really, you could be misdiagnosed with anything, and it could qualify as that. So tell me a little more about that.
I think that's kind of exactly what happened. It's funny that you say that. I think it's like the go-to. It's almost like fibromyalgia when doctors come up to like, okay, we've run out of things to figure out. So maybe it's this, right? And that's kind of how I felt this was, but it has usually two types. And it's usually in the extremities. I found out later. I didn't know anything about this. When I was diagnosed with this, I actually had to look it up. So there's two types. There's one where you have an injury or a trauma, and then this pain results that just doesn't go away. It can also come from a nerve injury or crush injury. There's type 2.
Oh, wow.
And then it's basically pain that sticks around and doesn't go away for no good reason. And that's why it's called the chronic complex regional pain syndrome, because it occurs generally in a region like your hands or your arm or your feet or up your leg. I don't know anybody who has it like in their torso. Most of the people I know have it in either like their hands or their feet. Yeah, something like that. You do get some other symptoms generally with it. Mine was a lot of swelling. Like my foot was so big I couldn't fit it into a shoe. I still sometimes can't. So you do get some specific things, painful to the touch, temperature differences. So usually the one foot is really hot and then the other one's normal temperature. They can look different in color. In the very beginning, my foot actually kind of looked like it was dead. It was like so white compared to the other foot that sometimes I was just looking at and I thought, oh my goodness, that's not good. So,
that's never good. You got to go somewhere and do something if it looks like that.
So apparently these things are quite normal with the CRPS. So it did feel a bit like a catch-all for what was happening to me. And basically that came at the end of, so we don't really know what happened or why this happened, but we think it's this. So that's probably how you should deal with it. So that's kind of where that went.
To be perfectly honest and fair, the doctors that you saw, and I'm sure you probably saw more than one before you figured this out, they're just practicing, that's why they call it practicing medicine, right?
Yeah.
They don't always have it figured out. They get their little baseline. I shouldn't belittle it like this. I'm sorry. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for good surgeons and good doctors. I'm just going to say that right now. But in some situations like this, and like with there's like with fibromyalgia, it's another one that they just kind of throw mud against the wall and see what sticks, And so but they don't have all that knowledge. They have a baseline of knowledge when they leave medical school, right? And then when they start practicing and actually seeing patients, especially with things like this, that's when their education starts, and they start actually learning some practical things for the world.
It's so true.
I'm sure
I think that happens a lot when it comes to chronic pain.
Oh yeah.
I've found out that it's a very common experience that, you come to the doctor and you're like, oh, it could be this or that. And they're like, oh, wow, I've never heard of that before. So it's kind of a journey all in itself, but the best thing that I could do for myself really was to educate myself and to not give up, because basically I was told that this is not fixable, not curable. Most people, this goes on their whole life. Some people, it just goes away spontaneously. So there seems to be no rhyme or reason to these things. And I was given a basically lifelong prescription to lidocaine patches. And that was the answer to this problem. So needless to say, to me, that didn't seem like a very good solution, especially I was 39 at the time and I ended up in a wheelchair. And I was like, I need to do something about this, right? I'd like to travel. I have so many plans, and getting around with a wheelchair is difficult. So I definitely was not going to just take that box of lidocaine patches and kind of go away with it. So that's where that whole journey really started. That's where I started digging into chronic pain, CRPS, other chronic pain conditions. I ended up doing my master's and actually my dissertation in a chronic pain study.
Wow.
So it's really been something that I've been trying to figure out, like, why and how this happens, but most importantly, what can we do about it? Because that's the thing that really bothered me, is that there was so little available to actually help with this. And
Yeah.
And that's where this kicked off my kind of journey with chronic pain. Yeah.
Well, there's so much out there about it, but most of it, at least in the American medical system, I don't know about in France or in Europe or anything, but here, the medical system seems to be geared more towards treating the symptom than the cause. And so if you come in with something like what you're talking about, or something that feels kind of general, they're just going to push a pill on you, or patches, right? Yeah. And so, but that doesn't do anything for you. That just covers up. That just tries to tell your body, no, that's not really going on. Just live life as if that wasn't going on. We're just going to cover it up. So that's not good. I mean, is that kind of typical over there too in France as well, or is it just an American medical thing?
I think it is for some things, for sure. I know that they did try a lot of, they sent me to it was all over like a Zoom meeting because it was during COVID, so I couldn't actually physically go see a specialist. I was lucky, I guess, that I got my cast on when I did, because that was kind of, you can only go in by yourself and, all these kind of things. So, so they did put me into a telehealth setting, with a foot surgeon specialist.
Oh, wow.
And I also did to talk to a orthopedic surgeon in Canada, where I'm from before. And I did have those avenues. They did also tell me that physiotherapy was available, so they paid for that for 6 months.
Nice.
It's just that at the end of the 6 months, the physiotherapist didn't really know what else to do because it wasn't changing. It wasn't getting any better. So she said, we can continue if you'd like to. It'll be kind of like exercising, but it's not showing any changes or any improvements. So I only did physio once a week after that. They did offer that. And they did offer a pain clinic. So I did go see the pain clinic that was in the hospital.
Nice.
And I did speak to a psychologist there, a pain psychologist. And she did tell me that a lot of these pain conditions, there can be a component, like a psychological component to it. So I did explore that.
Sure.
The problem is when you're first starting out with a diagnosis like this and you just have this pain and you don't know anything about it. I mean, some people have been dealing with this for decades, but if it's very new, you have so much to take in because everyone's telling you something different. And so when the psychologist said, oh, this might be psychological, I'm like, well, it could be. I did have a lot of stress, but I just don't know how my stress relates to me breaking my foot, right? So it was too many pieces that didn't make any sense. And so it took me a long time to actually try and put these pieces into a puzzle that made sense to me, how things happened, why they happened, and how I could help myself. And that didn't happen instantaneously. And that was the part where the medical system wasn't there because they just didn't have experience. They didn't know my personal journey, and they didn't have obviously the resources to be there for the years and years until I finally, started figuring out what was happening. So so I do feel like they really tried. They tried to offer me various different resources, but I think that the follow through, and I think with invisible conditions, generally, they can take a very long time if they're ever resolved, right? And there just isn't that follow through to have the long-term accompaniment or care I think that people need with that. So
100%.
So yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's true. And it's true with so many different conditions that are invisible, I had a guest on a while back that it took her 12 years to get diagnosed because it was so, it could have been so many things, right? There's so many things that it mirrored. It could have been all kinds of things. I think the main culprit they were thinking was fibromyalgia or MS, but it wasn't either of those. It was something really rare, it turned out, but it took her 12 years to figure it out, So and you gotta have some compassion with that medical staff too when they're trying to figure it out. I mean, I kind of was digging on them for a little bit there, but but I do value. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for good medical staff and surgeons and stuff. And they do amazing work, and they do the best they can, especially when it's a mystery,
Yeah.
So, yep. So that doesn't seem to be exclusive to just the United States. It sounds like
No.
you actually got to explore a lot more things than we probably would have even been able to here.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said to my mom too. I'm like, not that I wanted to break my foot and kick this all off, but it's probably better to do that in France than in Canada, because I don't think in Canada I would have gotten the same care. I didn't.
Maybe not.
I injured my other foot like 8 years prior, and I didn't get the same care. So it did make me think a little. But, the other thing is that even when you get a diagnosis, I didn't find it very helpful, because it still didn't tell me how I would fix that, right? So it's like, great, I can't drive, I can't walk, I'm in a wheelchair, so you're telling me what it is, but you're just telling me it'll be there forever. And how does that help me move on with my life? So, I had a name for what was happening, but that also didn't help me. And, well, where's the solution? What do I do with this now? So that was kind of the other part of that, is that I just didn't find the diagnosis very, very helpful in moving forward.
No. Well, and that is one thing that I want to talk about on the other side of this break. We're going to go to a commercial real quick, because it feels like a good spot to do that in the conversation. That was a good segue, by the way. We're gonna do that after we come back, because yes, now we know. Now we figured out now we know what we're dealing with. So now what? And that's part of where it can. That's the other side. That's like the second half of it. You gotta. Knowing what it is not enough. Now we got to figure out what to do. So that's going to be the encouragement. I'm excited to hear more about this part. So everybody stick around. Do not go anywhere. We're going to talk about what Petra actually did to pursue healing and pursue feeling better, on the other side of the break. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in just a couple minutes.
The Club eFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and Club eFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
I'm Dawn Livingston, your host on the Transcend and Succeed show. Join me Fridays at 2 p.m. Central for limitless inspiration and ways to help you transcend your limitations. Tune into the Achieve TV network and the Voyage to Vitality channel. Transcend and Succeed show, right here on A360 TV.
Welcome back. That's not the that actually wasn't the thing I thought I was going to play, but that's okay.
That's actually the first time I've watched a commercial in I don't know how many years, because now everything streams, right? There's no more commercials.
Right?
So it was actually really exciting to watch a commercial.
Look at that. People do still sell stuff on TV. Look at that. Oh, man. By the way, that eFit thing is awesome. I've got mine right here, actually, by my chair right here.
Wow.
That thing is amazing. Anybody that doesn't know what to do for exercise, they can do that standing, sitting, laying down. It's really cool. So she and the person that invented it, Natalie, is just incredible. So if you haven't met her, maybe I should introduce you to her. She's amazing. But Anyway, yeah. So yeah, commercials. Who knew? They're still out there.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, man. People got to the point that they hated commercials, and so those like Netflix and Prime and all those streaming services were like, yes, now we don't have to worry about it. But once in a while,
hardly ever. I think in the last probably 2-3 years, I've not watched a commercial. So this was really cool. I was, driving to the music and learned some things. So
all right.
Thanks for that experience. That was good.
Well, there you go. Well, in about 20 minutes, you'll get to see a couple more.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm just going to get you, 10 years worth of commercials for you in an hour. It'll be great. So, oh my goodness. All right. So we talked in the first segment about you not knowing what was going on, doctors not knowing what was going on, figuring it all out, trying to figure it all out. Finally landed on complex regional pain syndrome. And then it was like, okay, now what? So now I kind of want to hear kind of how you've dealt with it, because obviously the medical system in France, just like in the US, doesn't know everything about everything, right? So sometimes you got to go searching outside the medical system to find what works. So what was the first thing that you found that was beneficial for relieving, at least some of the pain?
Yeah, actually, it's making me laugh because the very first thing I bought was one of those plastic covers for my cast so that I could have a shower, because that was one where I'm like, okay, how do we start this journey? I've never broken anything, so this was really new to me. Like the whole entire thing, I couldn't go up and down the stairs, because of the cast. So yeah, the first thing I bought was that thing to cover the cast, because I did figure that a big part of whatever was going to come next, and this is before they diagnosed it, a big part of what was going to come next was to mentally stay stable, like in a place where I still felt like myself, because that was part of what happened when I first broke my foot. And it was a really simple thing. I was at the office. I just climbed on my chair. I wanted to reach something a little bit higher up. The chair fell over, so did I, and that was it, broke my foot. So it wasn't even anything big, and just went to the hospital. They put the cast on. They said, in 6 weeks, you'll be totally fine. Be driving 2 weeks after that. Don't worry about anything. And then it was over Christmas time that I had the cast, so it was a little bit annoying. I was trying to put the tree up and all of that. So one of the first things that became really clear to me is that with the limited mobility, not being able to exercise properly, and having this pain, I did have a lot of pain, was staying in a headspace that was still fairly balanced, because that was one of the first things that happened. So I did figure, okay, I need to take care of myself. I need to try and do most of the things that I was doing before. Taking showers was one of them. And, going to the hairdressers, I couldn't go to the hairdresser because I couldn't drive. So she actually came with this portable sink to come and do my hair. But it was one of those weird things that made me feel better. It actually made me feel like a normal person, So I tried to do some of those things that actually had given me just a good feeling, a lot of self-care. So those were the first things that I did. And I did those without really knowing what was going to come later. So these kind of just happened while I had the cast on. I didn't realize until later, I think, how important it is to do a lot of those things, and that the mental effect that these things have, these conditions and these syndromes, is just as important, as the physical effects. I didn't learn that until much later, but now looking back, taking care of your mind is just as important as actually making sure that the fracture heals, or, whatever needs to be healed. So that's
almost more. I mean, really. It's almost more, because if you're in the wrong headspace, because your body will respond to whatever you're thinking. If it's in your mind, especially if you say it out loud, if you keep saying things out loud like, oh, this is never going to heal. Oh, this is taking forever. Oh, this is, your body's going to catch on to that. It's just a blank canvas. It's just listening to you, in some ways. So, so that's
So,
huge. Yeah.
That was kind of the first few things that I got into. It happened about 7:00 at night. So my husband took me to the emergency. They x-rayed it, had the cast on. We were out of there an hour and a half later. So the first part went really smoothly,
Wow.
I have to say. So I was like pretty impressed. They gave me a purple cast. I was able to choose the Jōrni color. So I was like super happy. That evening actually went very smoothly. I was back at work because I mostly work evening time here because I work a lot on the US hours. I was back at work like an hour and a half later. No problem.
Wow.
So I actually thought, this is pretty good. I can do this. I can do the cast for 6 weeks. And that part I thought was pretty normal. It was what came after that just didn't work because when they took the cast off, my foot looked kind of like an elephant foot. They did say that was pretty normal. But in a week or so that would go away. So I worked on that with physio. Mine unfortunately didn't go away. So the second thing I bought was one of those surgery shoes. It's like it has like the Velcro top and the really thick sole because I couldn't fit my foot into any other shoes. So I got this surgery boot thingy, and actually that was super helpful because for the very first time I could create some semblance of being able to walk. So that was exciting, except I couldn't step on it because my foot was so swollen, so I couldn't take any steps because of the pain. That then developed into next time I went for the checkup, the foot still hadn't de-swelled, if you can call it that. So they were a little confused. Yeah. And I could tell by their faces that it wasn't what they were expecting. So I got a little bit worried, and that's, I think, where the mindset that you talked about came in, because when you see your doctor with this confused look and going, oh, this is interesting. This is usually not what you want to hear.
No, there's a couple people in your life that you never want to see look confused, and it's the dentist and the doctor and the surgeon.
Yes.
Right? You never want them to say, wow, I've never seen that before. Yeah.
So that part I kind of knew. I was like, okay, it's not going how it's supposed to. And so I continued with a physio. Those were sort of really basic things I did in the very beginning, were physio, chiropractor. I even tried acupuncture to bring the swelling down. I thought like maybe they could help drain the foot, and it kind of did. I mean, it didn't feel bad, but it also I didn't walk away after, I think I did it for 6 or 8 weeks. I didn't walk away with it being normal. So I tried all the basic things that I think everybody would try to kind of manage their pain, the kind of basic paramedical services. I started reading up on it. So I tried mirror therapy, where you actually try and re-educate the affected limb using a mirror that you've set between that and your good foot. You can look it up on YouTube. It's kind of exciting, but
I've heard of that. Yeah.
It didn't do anything. I did the foot baths. I did the massages. I bought a little TENS machine, the one that does the electricity, where you kind of stick the pad on you. It would give me a little bit of pain relief here and there, but it didn't, like, nothing permanent. So I still couldn't walk with any of that. I bought CBD cream because I thought that might help. Put that on. Had a bit of pain relief, but nothing was permanent was the issue, right? Like, it would be 2-3 hours. I would feel a little bit better, wouldn't have as much pain, but it just didn't do anything permanently. And
but all of that, I mean, that's what anybody would do, right? Like, anybody people want to be better. They don't want to just sit and be like, well, I guess this is how it's going to be. So they're trying things, but you found a couple things that worked, right? Like you mentioned something to me before the show. You said tapping.
Yeah.
Is that one of the things that helped actually help you relieve the pain, or at least minimize it?
Yeah.
How does it work?
So when I actually stopped looking for physical solutions, which was the funny thing, right? Because of course I was looking to fix the swelling and the pain, but when I actually stopped looking for physical solutions and I looked more for should we call them energetic or even psychological solutions.
Okay.
That's when I started really having some success with managing this. And tapping is, you can kind of imagine it like acupuncture, but without the needle. So you are tapping on certain energy points in the body.
Okay.
They're on the energy meridians that run through our body, and they're just below the skin. So when you're tapping them, you're actually changing or releasing or getting the energy unstuck in these points. So there is scientific evidence to this as well. It's not just woo. So they actually were testing, if these energy points exist, and they did MRIs where they injected the dyes to kind of see like how the energy spreads. And so they have proven that we do have these energy clusters in our body. And so that's what acupuncture and acupressure uses as well. So you can use those points. You can use them for a variety of things. I mean, tapping works for emotional issues. It works for physical pain that I've tried it on, and no guarantees, right? Every single person and body is different. But for myself, I started learning about TFT and EFT, which is tapping, and I started using that to control the pain. Now, it didn't fix the swelling. So for the longest time, and to this day, I still have days where I can't wear proper shoes, but it did manage the pain. I had a lot of pain during the night. I had pain when I was walking. Sometimes I just have pain when I'm sitting somewhere. Yeah. So I used it for managing when I had those spikes, for actually leveling those out. And it allowed me to have better function during the day. I could actually focus on things in my head other than the pain that I was trying to keep down. And I think with a lot of chronic pain conditions, a big part of the day becomes expending energy on trying to keep the pain levels down.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing thing, right? From the first moment in the morning that you put the foot on the floor and you have pain, to nighttime and you've been on it during the day and you have more pain, for your brain to keep processing this pain that's occurring all day long. It takes a lot of energy. And so I did get tired a lot, and I couldn't do a lot of the things I did before. But with tapping, I got some of that freedom back. I got some of the moments back during the day where I didn't have pain. So that was, for me, I considered that a success. After all of those years,
totally a victory.
That was a success. So And you can tap on different things. You can tap on all sorts of different pain conditions. You can tap on, like I said, if you're feeling anxious, sad, angry, upset, you can really tap on many, many different things. And it just helps the energy in your body balance and release if there's anything going on that might be underlying or helping cause these pains that you're having. So it's very simple, which is another reason why I like it, because I don't like things that have complicated contraptions that I have to use to achieve anything. So just tapping, on the body is super straightforward. You can do it anywhere at any time. It doesn't take a long time to get it. So that was one of the things I really, really like. And I still use that today. So, yeah.
So if somebody is saying, oh my gosh, I have the worst migraine, or oh my gosh, I tweaked my shoulder, I slept on it wrong, or whatever, I stepped on my foot wrong coming off that ladder, and it's, so how would you go about showing somebody, like, could you show us, like, what does it look like? Like if you had something going on, wherever,
Yeah, sure. So definitely, if you need medical attention, go get medical attention. This is not a replacement, but you can use this alongside, right? So what you would do is, and this will be individual to, depending on what your problem, your pain, or if you have a migraine, but you would start by tapping just on the side of the hand here. So you use like 2-3 fingers, whatever. It doesn't matter at all. Your body knows. It's very intelligent, so it'll process the energy regardless. So just take whatever feels good, either hand, and just start tapping. There's this fleshy part here on the side of your hand. Yeah. So you can tap on that. And while we're tapping on this, we say a sentence. And this sentence will be what's tailored to what's happening with you. So I'm just going to stop tapping here for a second. I'll tell you the sentence.
Yeah.
So you say, even though I have, and you would put in, even though I have this migraine, even though I have this foot pain, even though I'm upset, even though I'm angry, or you can just say, even though I have this pain, if it's just a general pain that you're having, even though I have this pain, I truly and deeply love myself. And if you don't love yourself, if you feel like this is not something you can say, and some people can't, then you can also say, I truly and deeply respect that I have this going on right now, or I accept that I have this going on right now. So you don't have to say love myself, but it is kind of nice if you can say, I truly and deeply love and respect myself, or something along those lines. So if we're tapping now on the side of the head, and we get set up with our statement, and we would say, even though I have this pain, I truly and deeply love and respect myself. And then you would go on to, from here to the next tapping point. And I'm just going to give you sort of the basic setup. There's lots of different other recipes that you can do with tapping, but this is the sort of basic one.
Yeah.
And then you would come to the inside here of the eyebrows, and you can tap just one side, you can tap two sides, you know, whatever feels good for you. You can make like a little beacon tap or just one finger. Your energy knows. It's very, very intelligent.
It's your body, right? So
yeah. So whatever feels good, you just start tapping, or start tapping with two. We do usually about 5 to 7 taps, but you can kind of figure out if you're feeling something release, or you start yawning or breathing deeper, you can feel that your body is responding to what you're doing. Then you would go to just the outside of the eyebrow here. And you do the same thing. Now, when you're tapping, you know, don't bruise yourself, but do tap it in a way that moves the energy, right? If you're just kind of stroking yourself, it's
do it like you need it.
So you need to move the energy a little bit, but don't injure yourself. No, don't give yourself bruises, but do tap it so it actually moves the energy. Because these points are underneath the skin, so you do need to put a little bit of pressure, obviously, to reach them. Then we'll go here on the orbital bone, so just under basically the center of the eye. If you just go down to that bone, and we would tap here. And again, you can make it beaks or 2 fingers, 1 finger, 1 side, 2 sides, whatever works for you. And while you're tapping these points, you repeat your sentence. So we use the short part of the sentence. So whatever you inserted in it. So if you just said, even though I have this pain, as you're going around tapping, you would just say this pain. Then you come down under the nose, just like above your lip here. You tap and you say this pain. Then you come down underneath the lip and that little divot here. This pain.
Right there.
And then you come down to where your collarbones are. Like if you go kind of to the end of the collarbones, there's this little hollow just underneath it that your fingers kind of fit into. And you tap those. In the
middle there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of a little soft spot, where we call it the sore spot too. So it is usually sore when you start tapping it.
What are you doing? That's not that's not a part of the body that gets a lot of attention for this kind of stuff.
And these are like this one here in particular, when you're tapping this is like a meridian endpoint. So you're tapping on the different energy meridians. Like this is the kidney endpoint. So you're tapping on the different energy meridians that are running through your body. So as you're kind of coming through this, you're activating and putting, unsticking energy that might be blocked in there. So that's the point of kind of tapping on these points, right? And you just keep saying this pain or this migraine or whatever it is that you put in your sentence. So from here, we're actually going to go to, the side here. Let's see which you can see better. If you come between your armpit and kind of where, for women, your bra strap would be, this is where you will tap next in there. And this is another, it's usually pretty sore for people. This is a spleen point. So it does all of the digesting, like not just food digesting, but also like emotional things that happen to you during the day, anything that you need to kind of work on. So for a lot of people, this point can be very, very sore if you have a lot of things going on. But it's good to unstick that energy in there. And from here, you're going to come to the top of the head, and you can kind of you know those head massagers that you can buy online?
Yeah.
Make like you can kind of give yourself a bit of a head massage up here while you're
I have one of
tapping.
those. I love those.
Those are awesome.
Those are great.
Yeah. There's a ton of energy points like all over the top of your head. So you can kind of try and hit some of them as you're going. And basically that's the run through that you would do. And so we can do this now. I'll walk you through one set, just going straight through it. And you would do this setup 3 times, right? So we start tapping on that. We say our sentence, and then we start here. We would say this pain, this pain, this pain.
Okay.
This pain.
Mm-hmm.
This pain. Can you point here on the collarbone?
Right there.
This pain.
Mm-hmm.
Under the armpit. Here, this pain.
It doesn't matter what side. You did the other side before, but now it doesn't matter. Okay.
Whatever feels good for you. And if you do one side and then you're like, oh, I want to kind of massage the other side too, and then do the other side. Yeah. And it just helps your body with those energy points. And then we'll go to the top of the head and we'll say this pain.
And does it matter how long you're doing obviously an abbreviated version of this, right? Like you would do it longer probably at each spot, or does it matter?
Yeah, about I think 5 to 7 taps.
Okay.
It's kind of what's recommended. So it's not really long. Yeah. And this is why I love tapping, because Jeff, if you do this three times, so 3 rounds basically, you usually will already see something happening. So when I have migraines and I use that, the first set of 3, I can already tell that it's starting to go away. Nice. So for me, it's very quick. And like I said, there's other parts to it. There's other points like on the hand that you can tap, and different things that are very similar to EMDR also with your eyes and that. Mm-hmm. So those are a bit more complicated, and you can also work with a practitioner for those. But the basic setup, the basic recipe that we went through now, you can do that anytime, anywhere, pick your sentence and just start tapping, and it'll help you with whatever is going on, starting here with the hand. That usually already kind of sets your body into a tone that, okay, we're moving energy now, we're tapping, we're working on this. And then as you're kind of going through the points, most people that I've worked with, most of my volunteers that I worked with through certification too, it does work quite quickly. Awesome. So that's why I love tapping. You don't need anything, and you can just start doing it. So yeah,
you do it. Yeah, you don't need anything with you. You don't need equipment. You do it anywhere, anytime, right?
Yeah,
it's really cool. That's really cool. And that is not the first. You are not the first person that has shown me that, and that's encouraging to me, because I'm like, okay, because everybody does it for a little bit different reason, right? So that's so cool. And anybody that wants to, I've had your QR code here with the website, and I want to make sure I mention it specifically, because this is all part of, if people want to know more about any of this, go there, right? Scan that QR code, go to that website. It's all laid out there. They can contact you through there. Is that the best way to do that? To contact
Absolutely.
You? Okay.
It has all of our socials, the podcast, the blog, our freebies, our resources. You can find everything in that one link. So
amazing. Yeah. And to make it easy, there's a QR code there. Just scan it. It took me a little bit. The QR code thing was a little weird when it first came out. I was like, what do I do with that? Do I have to take a picture of it? No, it'll just hold your phone up to it. It'll know what to do. But it's so cool. And your website does have a ton of stuff on there. Well done. You've got it. She's not kidding. You go there, it's got everything. So we tried to make
it easy so you don't have to remember like 50 different links. So just if you go to that, you'll find a link to everything else. So super easy. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. And one of the other things, we only have about 5 minutes left, but that's why I wanted to make sure that we, it's been there, but I wanted to make sure I just verbally said, okay, everybody get there. There's also let's see, tapping. And then you also mentioned, when we were talking before the show, you mentioned heart math, emotion code, pain reprocessing. I mean, these are all things that a lot of people are not familiar with. And so that is that somewhere, the website somewhere they can go to learn about all of that?
Yeah, so the best way to learn about those things is to join our Facebook group, because we do post a lot of those things in there. And I was really busy the last couple of years with my school, but it's all done now. So I'll be in the Facebook group a lot more now too, doing little demonstrations and little sessions with all of these things. So definitely, if you're wanting to know more about all the different kind of things that I tried and which ones worked and which ones didn't, then definitely pop into our Facebook group, and you'll see in there that we're going to be doing some sessions. I'm also going to be posting in there for free sessions for different kind of modalities, as I'm, certifying for different things. I always need volunteers. So there's lots of opportunities to get free sessions to try things out, which is really exciting to kind of just have new things that you can try and look into and see if they work for you. So.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and you just don't know what you don't know. And so that's why I'm so excited that we're talking about some of this, because there's just so much out there that is not talked about. That's not talked about enough, at least, and these are things that, I mean, tapping, I had heard of tapping, but there's so much out there that I've learned, and it's so cool. So I'm so glad that you are out there getting the word out about all of this stuff, because more people need to know about it, obviously, because it can make their life better. I mean, it's making people's lives better without medical intervention, if you don't have to.
And that's the thing, right? It's a lot of things can be helped with alternative things. There are, of course, things like surgery or a cast where you need to go see your doctor.
Yeah, you can't get away from that.
But a lot of things are very complementary, to a lot of the medical interventions that people have. So it's really nice, very gentle, most of it very non-invasive. So it's just finding what works for you in particular, right? Because no person is the same as another, or no person's pain or condition is the same as another. So it's just really important to try different things and see in the end what works. And mostly what I found is it's usually a combination of a few different things that end up helping. So kind of not just one magic thing that makes it all go away, but a combination of different things. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, okay, now it feels really, really good.
Right? Yeah. Well, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that sometimes it's a combination, right? Like you say, it's not just, this is the one thing that's going to help you. This is the, it's most of the time it's more than one thing in combination. So sometimes you just got to hear it out loud,
Yes.
It's not just like you try one thing and it doesn't work and you go, oh, well, I guess I'm destined to have this forever and it's going to hurt, but yeah.
I think I probably, to be honest with you, I must have tried by now probably hundreds of things. And so it definitely goes to show that just don't give up, because there will be something or a combination of something that will do something for you. And it just takes time to find that. But especially if you listen to my podcast, for example, I don't know how many hundreds of people we've had on there and talking about their approaches or methodologies that I have never even heard of, right? So there's so much out there, like you said, that we just don't know about it yet, but it doesn't mean that there isn't something out there. So.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, just you can't possibly think that just because you haven't heard of it, it doesn't exist, right? There's so much out there that you don't know what you don't know. So, but you know what? I feel like I've learned something today, and I'm so thankful, because it's always good to have more arrows in the quiver, so to speak, and so thank you for being here. Unfortunately, we're out of time. It's how it works.
Yeah,
You know,
it went by so fast.
That went so fast. It's ridiculous. We might have to do this again just to cover some more
Yeah.
stuff.
There's
But,
like so many more exciting things, but I'm so sorry we don't have time to go into
no,
those.
I know we went on a tangent, and it's okay. It's okay. We're talking, and it's coming out, you know, and whatever works, you know. But yeah, we'll definitely have to maybe do this again so we can get some more specifics on some other things. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate it, and taking the time, and just thank you for being here.
Thank you for putting on the show and talking about these invisible conditions, which is so important because, like you said, very often we're made to feel like it's just in our head, you know, and nobody can tell us what's going on, or even that something's going on. So thank you for all the work that you do in the Hydra with Hope, of course, also. So yeah, thank you for shining your light. And yeah, it was such a pleasure to be here today. And thank you for having me on and for this opportunity to share.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Man, I love those kind of shows. You know, you just kind of go and see where it goes, and like it's all kinds of it's all good. So I'm so glad that we got to learn about something new, because that's always fun. And I'll tell you what, coming up next show is going to be. Oh, by the way, speaking of shows, if you do have a favorite one, please share it, because if it's your favorite, it's probably somebody else's too. So please share it out on social media so everybody can see it, because I love sharing all this information with you. So next show's coming up Tuesday, February 13th. And until then, have an amazing day, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.